Hi, everyone, and welcome to Heal Endometriosis Naturally with Wendy K. Laidlaw. Wendy has spent the last 2 years helping women with various stages of endometriosis to heal naturally after putting her condition into remission. After her own healing success from stage 4 endometriosis and adenomyosis, she's inspired to heal others, and her goal is to help some of the 175 million women know that there is another way other than painkillers, drugs, or surgery. This is the place to be for real talk with real people for real results, so you can learn how to heal your endometriosis naturally. Please note that the opinions expressed in this program may represent options, but are not a substitute for proper medical care. Before starting any new healthcare program, we recommend you consult with a health professional.
Hey everyone, it's Wendy K. Laidlaw here, and as always, I hope that this podcast finds you well. Now, this week, I thought I would give you, this week and next week, part 1 and part 2, I thought I'd let you hear a recording of me at an emotional health conference where I was asked to speak by a lovely gentleman called Miguel Diaz in America, who helps men and women all over the world with their fitness and performance and reduce weight, but most importantly, overcome their emotional struggles and challenges that they have. And I think what struck me speaking on this conference was just how universal it is. And whilst his audience he serves don't have endometriosis per se, I thought it would be interesting for you to hear what some of the challenges that some people are facing emotionally. So the essence behind sharing this recording with you is to help you hear how many women around the world are suffering emotionally or having these questions and fears and worries about themselves, and it sadly is a universal problem. And this is why I do the work that I do. As you know, helping women with endometriosis is not just about the physical condition, it's about the emotional part as well. Because it's a complex condition. There's so many different layers to it. And again, with Miguel and the work that he does, he looks at women as a whole person rather than just a particular sort of body part and things as well. So I think some of the questions that came up are very commonplace for a lot of women that I work with. And again, I thought it would be interesting for you to hear this. I hope you enjoy it, and you'll hear part 2 in the next couple of days. Take care.
So, guys, please let's welcome Wendy. Wendy K. Laidlaw is a best-selling author, online entrepreneur, and founder and CEO of HealEndometriosisNaturally.com. Wendy put her stage 4 endometriosis into remission after suffering for over 33 years. After 6 surgeries, countless drugs and painkillers, and the conventional medical system failed her. She ended up bedridden for almost 3 years with multiple conditions, including adhesions, cysts, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, and mitochondria dysfunction. After retraining from her bed in nutritional therapy, psychotherapy, psychology, Wendy is now a certified life coach specializing in women's health for endometriosis, adenomyosis, and infertility. Using a multimodal holistic approach called Laidlaw Protocols, she addressed the main 5 Ps, P for poison, and was able to put all of her conditions into remission. Wendy is now helping women all around the world achieve the same results through her best-selling books, online challenge, and online programs so that they can go back to living their best life. Wendy has been featured in over 14 national radio stations, hosts a regular podcast, and is the host of the Ultimate Emotional Health Summit, which is in its 2nd year, and it shares the importance of self-care and safe connection to emotions for empowerment. Wendy lives in Edinburgh, Scotland, with her 2 grown-up children, Seb and Maxine, plus Poppy, a chocolate lab. Oh my goodness. And Wendy, thank you so much for being here. I know your world, but I'm super excited for us to learn a little more, and we just could not be happier to have you here.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me on. It's wonderful to be here and part of your community.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what this people that come to you, from an emotional standpoint, how do you start unraveling and peeling those layers to figure out what is going on?
it's a great question. And whether it's weight related issues or health related issues or anything, and what I've kind of discovered, and I've got another book coming out called Embracing Emotions, Empathy and Energy, because what I've been discovering over the past sort of like 8 years or so is that the root cause of most people's distress is this underlying these sort of core emotional, I wouldn't say issues per se, but there's just suppressed feelings of negativity about themselves that have been built upon year upon year upon year. And we take on other people's projections of us as the real thing. And actually what we're trying to do when we have symptoms that show up with us, or we get stuck in certain areas, or we get blocked in certain things, is actually there's some conflict going on internally. And that internal conflict is that we have this, if you like, we have this inner part of us that's seeking to fulfill a goal or reach our purpose, but we're feeling trapped and stuck and attached to old conditions and old beliefs. And we're trying to, it's almost like the caterpillar trying to break out the cocoon analogy. You know, it's like we get stuck in the cocoon and it becomes really uncomfortable, but we don't know that we have the strength internally, emotionally, to actually break through that cocoon and be the butterfly that we want to be. So I've kind of found out, you know, I work also with online entrepreneurs, and I work with teenagers and things as well. And it's a beautiful journey for people to realize and recognize they actually have all this power within them. It's just normally it's wrapped in fear of perhaps what other people might think of you, or, as I say, what's been projected onto you. And when you can, so to answer your question, how do you address these things? Really, really slowly and really, really lovingly, because I think we're all guilty. And I was that person of like making massive goals and then feeling like a failure when I didn't reach them. So it's all about making tiny, what I refer to, not even baby steps, but tiny ant steps of little kind of movements and progress to get that feeling of win. If you know, we've spoken before, Wayne, it's like you get that feeling of win and then you go, oh, I can do that. You know, it's like a tiny little, another ant step, and like, oh, I can do that. So whatever it is that you're putting yourself to, and especially in your community, it's weight loss. It's sometimes we can set ourselves up, you know, for big gigantic goals, and then we feel a failure for not achieving them. But if we give ourselves smaller goals, then we start to build up that feeling of you know, our value and our sense of accomplishment, our sense of identity, and it comes in small incremental steps.
Right. One thing that I see some of our members struggling with is, you know, when it comes the nutrition and the fitness aspect of life can almost feel like it's the easy part in when we look at our life as a whole, right? Because we're not living in a vacuum. We've got stress from work, family life, you name it, relationships, financial stressors, and I mean, everything that's going on in the world right now. So sometimes I see perhaps it's easy to understand what we should do, what we should be doing, but we struggle to really overcome the heaviness of what's going on out there, and just get those first little and steps going, or take those steps with enough consistencies to really create the change that we're looking for. How can we start clearing that emotional spectrum inside of us so that we can actually start taking those steps with consistency?
Absolutely. Well, it's great that you asked that, because I think we can all get overwhelmed. There's all these demands upon us. We invariably all have this massive perfectionist that we want to be the perfect person in the perfect way in the perfect body, and we're all attaining this, you know, perfection. And there's nothing wrong in trying to be the best version of yourself. That's not what I'm saying. But I think sometimes we can put these unrealistic goals upon ourselves, and we just end up, you know, feeling weighed down by it. But what I suggest to start with is something quite simple. And people can kind of think, really, is it that simple? Do I have to start? You know, I normally suggest writing in the morning as you wake up. So getting like an A4 lined journal, getting a pen, and literally as you wake up, you're in a kind of still kind of slightly asleep and just waking up, and they call it kind of an alpha state of the brain. The brain waves are quite low, and so you just come out of sleep, and you're just before you go into that busy beta state of brain, is just to start writing your thoughts and feelings on paper. Now, everybody here will say, I can't do that, and I wouldn't know what to write. Everybody goes through the same thing. I do a challenge on this, and I work with hundreds, thousands of women now on this. So I know the natural thought is,
Why would I journal in the morning? I have nothing to say in the morning. My handwriting's awful. What if somebody reads my journal? All those, these are all natural thoughts and feelings. But it's a wonderful way to really start to recognize what you have power and control of, to really understand, get in under the hood of the car, if you like, under the bonnet, to figure out, like, you know, who's toxic in your life, or what is toxic in your life, what is making you stay stuck, who is perhaps criticizing you that you don't want to be around, or just really learning to connect with yourself and your own thoughts and your own feelings, because we can all be drowned out by other people's voices and thoughts sometimes, that we lose. I used to use this analogy. I became so ill, I felt like an empty crisp packet floating around in the wind to everybody else's whims and everybody else's demands, trying to keep everybody happy. And I needed to learn kind of what, and I think women in generally think, you know, it's selfish to think of themselves, but it's essential to take care of your own emotional needs, to start slowly. And that's why I say AMP steps. By journaling in the morning, just kind of the thought process, your little monkey mind, as soon as you wake up, is on. It's chirping away. And what we're doing is we're retraining the brain to manage the mind. And we do so with this as journaling. And there's decades of research to validate and back up the effectiveness of journaling, but sometimes it can almost seem so simple that people don't even think to do it, or perhaps they do it other times of the day, which is wonderful. But the secret is to do it first thing in the morning, and then it just starts to help you connect. I've just finished a 21-day challenge, and women have said to me, literally, it was life-changing just by journaling and meditation, which I'll come into in a minute. But journaling is a beautiful way, especially to start to get about the feelings. Most of us we're not taught at school how to connect with our feelings. And if our parents weren't good at connecting with their feelings, they switched off from theirs. Well, we just learned from our parents, and we're never here to bash anybody's parents, but it just goes down the ancestral line. And if you think back to the Second World War, it wasn't that long ago. You know, there's all these horrors and trials and tribulations that went on, there's so much suffering that went on. How did people deal with all that? They tended to switch off and shove it down. So what we're doing now in this age and stage in time and history is really starting to learn to connect. You know, have we taken on and in past traumas? Are these current situations? And just, as I say, do it really, really slowly, because invariably within all of us, there's a wee frightened part. There's a younger version of us, a little us that's like, I'm scared, but we're in this adult grown up body trying to make the best of the world that we can, that we're living in.
Yeah. You know what? We've talked about journaling, but usually you're right. It's doing it at the end of the day to review your day, identify what, you know, brought joy into your life and what didn't, so that you can hopefully identify patterns and eventually learn those lessons, right?
Yeah.
But what we're doing, or if we start doing something like what you're suggesting, then now you're not just reviewing, okay, what just happened? You're starting your day with intention. Instead of, you know, waking up and like, oh, I must check Facebook or whatever, right? My emails or whatever. We're starting with intention, which I can see how much more powerful it would be than just recapping the day. And of course, there's lessons there, but
yeah. I mean, I think the end of the day is great too, because it's a nice way to offload your brain at the end of the day. And as you say, to assess, you know, how's your day gone, and it clears your brain before you go to sleep. But I think, as I say, it's the secret is also to do it in the morning, because not only are you setting yourself up for the day, but you're also allowing yourself to tap into those lower brain states, which allow you to tap into some of your subconscious. Right. And that's where, if you think of an iceberg, our conscious is the top part, the top almost 10%, and 90% below the surface is this subconscious. So if you ever find yourself thinking, why do I keep reaching for the biscuit tin, or why do I default to that all the time? It's because there's subconscious kind of patterns in there. And that's where you end up being miserable, because you go, I so desperately want to do this and I want to do that. And why can't I do it? It's because there's some subconscious, as I say, mechanisms going on underneath the surface. And if we can allow ourselves gently to connect to them, and it does happen, it's slow and it's sure and it's stable. And we need that as well when we're making significant emotional changes, as in connecting with vulnerable parts of ourselves. We need to go slow. But what's beautiful about the morning one is it allows you to tap into a brain state that you're not normally in, because even at nighttime, you'll be in a busy brain, in that beta state. but you may not have access to the subconscious, but in the morning you do, because you're just waking up. So literally, I wake up and I don't even go to the bathroom if I can hold on to my bladder. I literally, and all my students as well, it's like, if you can hold on to your bladder, just literally grab that pen and paper and start writing. Now, initially, it's going to feel awkward and weird, and your brain's going to go, I'm a bit sleepy, I don't know what to think. You literally write that. You literally write your thoughts down. And then before time, you start to remember your dreams, because your dreams are your subconscious processing. You'll start to tap into memories, perhaps, and things, and you'll start to make connections. You literally start to tap into this inner wisdom that every woman has, every man has, this intuition, instincts, inner guidance, if you like, that you then start to get answers to the questions that perhaps have plagued you for quite some time.
This is amazing, Wendy. And guys, for everybody listening, either live or on the recording, struggling with these things is so prevalent in today's world. And what Wendy's telling us right now, part of our brain may be like, oh, come on, just tell me there's something I can take that will just make it all go away. And this, we can make the mistake of thinking, really? Something this simple can have such a big effect? But remember, if we keep on doing, if we want a different result, we have to do something different, right? And if you have not been doing this, you owe it to yourself to at least try that and commit to this as a practice. May not be easy at the beginning, but it sounds like it'd be super powerful.
Well, I mean, I ended up bedridden, almost near total organ failure. I was knocking on death's door, and I knew I had to do something different. I knew that I was getting told all these different things, but yet I was getting sicker and sicker and sicker. So it's like Albert Einstein says, the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So I guess I was lucky. I stumbled upon journaling, but the prerequisite was you had to do it as you woke up. That was the secret. And before long, Miguel, I was starting to kind of build up confidence in like what I was thinking, what I was feeling, what was happening in my body, what my body needed. And of course, it felt weird listening to my thoughts. I felt very self-conscious. Writing all my thoughts was like, oh, I was judgmental in my writing and judgmental on stupid stuff, But before long, I was starting to kind of build this relationship with myself. And I know it sounds an odd thing to say, but I didn't really know who I was before. I was, as I say, felt like an empty crisp packet buffeted around in the wind before. I felt like a doormat that everybody wiped their feet on. I just didn't know what I thought. I didn't know what was okay to think and things before. So by this point, I just kind of like, I have to take that power and control. I have to learn to tap into, what it is. So it came little by little by little, and each enlightenment, each kind of understanding to myself and my body and my behaviors and my reactions and my habits and things like that really empowered me more and more and more. And I was able to find my voice, and I was able to kind of really connect to my body, and like, why was I stuck on certain things? What were my blocks? What were my beliefs that were perhaps, I use the analogy, like sometimes when we're at this age and stage in life, we might have beliefs that just don't serve us anymore. Like when we were little, we had these beautiful pink princess shoes that we loved, but now they'll be tatty and worn and we've outgrown them. And it's kind of like beliefs and blocks and things as well. We outgrow them, but we seek change and fear change in equal measure. And the process of journaling allows us to hear the fear, allows us to hear the blocks. So it allows us to hear the beliefs that perhaps are not helpful anymore. But in the process of hearing them, we develop compassion for ourselves, which is sometimes something that's really hard for all of us in this day and age to even think about. We can have compassion for everybody else, but we can beat ourselves to a pulp. So the journaling allows this kind of gateway to yourself in a really practical sense, a left brain, analytical, practical sense, but also engaging your right part of your brain from an emotional perspective as well. And that's what that really allows you to process a lot of, say, perhaps deep emotions, anger, rage, frustration, joy, happiness, excitement, all these emotions. We end up becoming almost deadened by life just to try and cope through the day. So this journaling little by little just allows yourself just to connect yourself in a way that is healthy.
Oh my goodness. That was just so powerful right there. There's so much. It is sometimes so hard to identify even what the emotion is. We just feel it just feels heavy. There's some pressure somewhere on me. And that would be a great practice to at least like you
Well,
say.
even there, you're like putting your hand to your chest. You're like, I feel that weight on me. If we can start to increase the awareness, I call it the AIEIE. Awareness, as in increase our awareness. What journaling does is it helps us just become awake and aware. Literally, as we wake up, we become aware of what our thinking and thoughts are, because and it's through no fault of our own, we've developed patterns of thinking and feelings, and sometimes we're not even aware. Awareness is half the battle. And then the I is getting information, education, which of course they're getting from you, and they're getting the inspiration from you to keep going, which ultimately leads to empowerment. So this is just another little tool in their tool bags that, can really make significant. It almost seems insignificant, but I promise you, it is so powerful. And there are so many studies back. I've seen, it's a beautiful honor to be part of people's journey and seeing the shifts that can be made in very soft, subtle, and safe ways. And I say safe because if you've been in a certain way of thinking and feeling, it's because you probably needed to be that way to protect yourself for some reason. And for you to increase your awareness, it allows you the confidence to really step into what fear. And it's normally a younger version of yourself that's taken on a fear or belief and needs more information. So this is why this is a really nice, safe way to move forward.
Oh my goodness. Guys, if any of you is like, I would like to ask Wendy a question, please either comment on the chat or something so that we can get to that in a minute, because this is we see so many of our members and even ourselves struggle with this often.
Yeah, and I don't sit here saying I'm perfect and got it all sorted, but what I do know is what works for me now. As someone was so ill for so long, and I have so much energy now, and I'm so happy now, and I'm so healthy now. I know that, as I say, that it's for my community and for people I work with, it's the 3 pillars of the 3 daily basics. And journaling is one of them, meditation. And what I mean by that is relaxation, mindfulness, guided meditation in the afternoon, and then what I refer to as a power shake. But I've seen people transform themselves in a beautiful way, literally using the caterpillar analogy, having all the energy to fly and spread their wings and be who they want to be. Because invariably, and when it comes back to the core of the emotions, invariably we're all trying to be the best versions of ourselves. But I know for me to retain the energy, the vitality, and where I'm at, and keep my awareness and keep my empowerment, these are the tools that are very supportive. They're like the foundations you put in a house. If we don't have good foundations, we can put all the scaffolding up that we can, but the building will still fall down. So we need to put these foundations in from an emotional perspective. And I think people get physical health, don't they? And they get mental health, but they don't often get the emotional health and of course, spiritual health, but how that works together. And I think a lot of us can be scared. I used to be terrified of my emotions. I'm like, oh, I'm so emotional, and I wish I didn't have this feeling, and I wish I didn't think that, and it caused a lot of disease and disharmony and distress on me. But I think once, as I say, journaling was a crucial tool in helping me find my way back to me, because ultimately all the answers that you seek for everything, believe it or not, lie within you. And I think that's what our job is, Miguel, isn't it? Is helping people find their way back to themselves. But most of us maybe didn't like ourselves very much. I didn't like myself at all. I didn't want to be who I was. And that's where the compassion is developed from the journaling, is allow yourself to come back to yourself and be at peace with yourself, accept yourself, and then learn to like yourself, and then learn to love yourself.
Yeah. That you said something very powerful there too. Often the best we can hope to do as coaches or guides is not dragging someone along the path, but rather ask questions that incite that internal audit, right? Like, what am I feeling? And have I been here before? Am I here often? What is the pattern? What is going on? Rather than just something on the surface. And Wendy, when it comes to meditation, we've all heard it, right? But probably less than 5% of the population will practice it consistently. Yeah. What's a simple way to begin so that it doesn't feel so daunting, in the busy world we live in?
Absolutely. Well, again, journaling is kind of like, you think of it as a radio station. Journaling is like transmitting your thoughts, your feelings, your fears, your worries, and everything on paper first thing on the morning. And again, with journaling, start super small. Give yourself a really, really, really realistic goal. It could be, I get all my clients to do 3 A4 pages, but that might seem, wow, far too much. Start with like one A5 page is what they start off on the challenge. So just one small A5 page, or do half of one, and start and build from there. So the journaling is like transmitting your thoughts, your feelings, starting to connect, become comfortable, accept that these are patterns. And before you know it, it's turning up on paper time and time again. You then start to go, all right, I wasn't even aware of that. And then you can start to think about what to do. Meditation, relaxation, mindfulness is the receiving. It's like a transmitter radio. You receive, you transmit, and you receive. And it's not woo-woo or weird or wacky, I should say. I know for me, I thought it was kind of like you had to sit on top of a hill half naked and elevated off the ground and do humming and chants and stuff. It's not like that at all. They might do that in the East, but that's not what my idea of meditation is. My idea of meditation is, there's some fantastic, and I'm happy to share, I can email you at the end some of my favorite ones, but people like Kelly Howell, who wonderful. She's on Spotify. You can get it all for free. You can go into your apps, whatever. It's a very personal thing. So don't feel like shoved in a box. I think it's like with journaling, you're trying to find out what works for you. All that matters is helping you move through whatever blocks are there and start to give yourself some comfort. So, experiment. It could just be music for you. It could be bilateral music, binaural beats. It could be a guided meditation, and it could be just mindfulness or body scans, whatever it is that works for you. But I would suggest that you go and experiment with them all and see what you like. And as you're growing, because once now you're working with Miguel, you'll grow. Okay, you're going to be growing in so many different levels so fast, but you will find your tastes change as well. So just, you might get stuck with one, but keep changing them. And start small. Start with 5 minutes. If you're anything like I was before I fell, I had the busiest blue bottle brain on the planet. The blue bottle flies that go bouncing around all over the place. Like, the idea of me sitting still, meditating for 5 minutes felt an inordinate task. But start small. Start with 5 minutes. You don't have to sit. You don't have to clear your mind. I lie down, put an eye mask on, put my headphones on. If you fall asleep. Your body probably needs it. So again, I'm just saying, all these other people out there can put all these restrictions and things on you. Normally what I suggest is just tune into your body, tune into your instincts, tune into your emotions. What do you feel like that day? Normally what I suggest on my challenges is they start off with a 5-minute mindfulness meditation. And I've had some recorded and did some myself, and equally just go, and there's so many brilliant apps now. Just try 5 minutes a day for a week, every day, but make sure it's kind of afternoon, like anywhere between like 2 and 5 p.m. because your body has a natural slump after lunch anyway. Some of the most successful people in the world used to go, they call them power naps. But you can't use your mobile phone when the battery's flat. And the same goes for your body. You're charging up your cells, you're charging up your physical and your brain cells. And again, so start off small. Start off with 5 minutes, and then maybe go to 10 minutes and do this week on week on week. If you need 2 weeks at 5 minutes, go for it. There's no case of being a success or failure here. It's just what works for you. Personally, I do 30 minutes. Just before coming on here, I did a 35-minute meditation with my cat on my lap. Lay down, eye mask on, headphones on. Oh, it's beautiful. You go right down, literally feel like I've been plug in a socket, fully charged, and here I am ready to go. Yeah. And that's what kind of works for my body. So I think some people there's gurus out there in inverted commas that sort of make it like you've got to do all these different things in certain ways, otherwise you're a failure and you can't do it. I think you find a way that works for you, but if you understand why you're doing it, I think that helps. You're doing it to recharge yourself. As I say, you can't use a depleted car battery or a phone battery, if it's not got enough charge. And we know ourselves, we can wake up in the morning, go at 100 miles an hour, and then wonder why we're exhausted, grabbing that sugar thing, that hit that we seek, is to keep going and keep us fueled. But we can actually retrain our brain to say, right, okay, headphones, let's just give ourselves a wee meditation. My children do it. I have a 28-year-old daughter and a 19-year-old son. And they do it, and they're like, "Oh, that was it." And I don't see too much because they're my kids. I don't want to because it's a mum thing, isn't it? I don't want, mum told them to, but they do it off their own back, and they love it. And it makes me so happy because it allows them to reconnect to themselves. Press pause on the button of the day, reconnect, recharge, and then off they trot with all this new renewed energy again.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I like how you said it doesn't have to be one way or another. When I learned meditation, this was 2012. I learned it from books, and it was, you must sit
Yeah.
with your legs crossed and
Yes.
half lotus or full lotus. And I remember it was uncomfortable. I learned it that way. Now, for the longest time now, for years now, instead of doing that, I've been just doing the 5 minutes a day, like you said. And I literally use an app, and it's just a sleep better app, 5 to 10 minutes guided meditation. It's on Audible. You can download it for free. There's a lot of apps, like Wendy says, that can just guide you, ask you questions, ask you to connect with your body, with what you felt, to review your day, to express gratitude towards yourself for the things that brought you joy in your day, and let go of what feels heavy. And it sounds, again, super simple, but you look at what the people that are the most successful, and I don't mean successful in terms of financial wealth, I mean at peace,
Yeah.
happy, content, and they all have a practice in one way or another that relates to that. We have some questions here, Wendy, that I think would be awesome to go over. If yeah, well, there's a lot. So Nadine, actually, I wonder if we could just bring them on so that they can ask it directly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Nadine, would you be open to that? I'm happy to add you here. Yeah, there you are. Awesome. Nadine, tell us what you struggle with.
My biggest thing is when our days get like out of control. I guess when I lose like that sense of control, I tend to just eat or drink sweets to feel better. And I cry when I do it because I know I don't want the outcome, but I can't seem to break that cycle. So I don't know if you have suggestions around that. I commented down below too, because I was like, I think one of my biggest challenges right now is having a house full of small kids, is being able to carve out that time for self-care. And
Yeah.
we also have a child with special needs. And so it's like 24-hour monitoring when I'm home alone, like there's no moments of downtime. So breaking that cycle has been super hard.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome that you're here, and it's awesome that you're wanting to do something about it. And I think it's really important to start from where you're at and give yourself recognition for that. That's really, really important. Can you do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I think we have to give ourselves the little bit of kind feedback, because it's not something we're comfortable doing, isn't it? We end up beating ourselves up for what we're not doing, but not paying attention for what we are doing. And I think we have to start there. So it's awesome that you're here. Okay, so that's brilliant. Then on the back of that, I would suggest start off small. Okay, start off with maybe, if you do you have a partner that's there that could that could even just give you 15 minutes in the morning, even if you have to go in and say to him, like, okay, can you look after the kids? I'm going into the bathroom, I'm going to lock the door, I'm going to write my journal for 15 minutes. If that's what you have to do, because it will allow some release of tension and pressure of like, how the heck am I going to handle this today? So-and-so's got this and so-and-so's got that, and just allows that it's kind of, that's how you're starting the day. It allows it just to go onto paper. So if you can see what you can maybe discuss, I mean, so again, the women I work with, it's a case of like, negotiating with their partner. I'll do the bedtime if you do the morning, and just give me half an hour in the morning just to do this. I need to do this for at least 21 days. And it just allows, because what it'll do is it'll give you greater clarity, connection to yourself. You'll have insights. You'll come up with all these amazing ideas you hadn't thought of before. And then it might just help you plan to how to look. So if you have a certain point in the day where you find yourself craving certain things, if you've got a child with special needs and you've got lots of wee ones, you're naturally going to get burnt out at a certain point. So what you're going to try and do through the journaling is say, so what time of the day is it? 2 or 3 o'clock in the day that I normally get burnt out or tired? You're trying to identify when that weak point is. I wouldn't say weak, it's that susceptible point of the day. And again, if you can get your children, I mean, again, with my clients, trying to get their children to do meditations with them, or sit. I say, if you can explain to children what you're doing and why you're doing it, it's amazing. Sometimes it depends what age they are, of course. but they love going along on the journey with you. So if you can involve them on the journey and say, right, mommy's going to be doing this for 10 minutes. Would you like to sit and do it with mommy? It'll be fun. Or let me know what you think. I mean, again, just trust that you'll find the right way for you. They'll get your creative juices flowing through your journal. Like, how can I make this work? If you can, maybe after lunchtime, give yourself a little bit of time, whether it be 10, 15 minutes, just to have that recharge. And acknowledge that that is normally a susceptible time for you, and just accept that that is a vulnerable time for you. That in itself can take some pressure off. Does that make sense? You can just go, that's where I'm normally vulnerable, so I know that, so I'm not going to beat myself up saying I better not because I'm vulnerable. Then just so I know that's vulnerable, so what do I need to do to protect myself and support myself from this at this time? And hey, some days are going to be good and some days are not going to be so good, but I'm going to do the best I can. I think just think of the internal dialogue that can sometimes help.
Yeah, I had commented down lower actually, and I was like, I think that's a good idea, because we've been working really hard to institute like a 30-minute quiet time in the afternoon. But I think typical mom, right? I put the kids down and what do? I clean like crazy for 30 minutes. I'm like, I need to sit.
Exactly.
Journal.
And that's really important. It's great you've all become aware of that. That's exactly, you're going to feel this pull and you're going to notice the feeling and conflict and pull, and you're going to say thank you to whatever part that is. It's probably a super mom part of you, and you're going to say, but for me to do more, I need to recharge. See, as a charging up your phone or charging up the kids, toys or whatever. So again, it's going to take a bit of discipline, but I know you can do it. And what to do is kind of, if you journal in the morning about what your apprehensions might be about getting it all set up, you're already preparing yourself and supporting yourself. You're kind of almost self-parenting yourself to some degree ahead of time.
I like that. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Well, good luck with it.
That is great. Thank you so much for sharing, Nadine. That is awesome. We've got more questions here. Trina.
Hi, it's Wendy here again, and I hope that you enjoyed this first part of the emotional health conference that I was talking at, and that you could hear just some of the answers to some of the questions that were coming up for people. There's going to be more. It was a long conference. I think it was on for over an hour or so. So I thought to split it over 2 sessions for you to hear. And again, I really hope that this inspires you to recognize that you're not alone, and that you, and if you can even just tune back into yourself in the ways that I normally promote, i.e. through journaling in the morning and meditation, you can really start to seek back into yourself as to the answers that are lying there waiting to be discovered. And that, whatever emotional trials and tribulations you're going through right now, they are messengers to you to try and help you unravel, what's going on there, and to give you guidance back to your own direction. So I will be back and speaking to you soon in the next couple of days. Take care. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Heal Endometriosis Naturally with Wendy K. Laidlaw, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and rate us. If you're interested in learning more, you can download your top 5 jumpstart tips at healendometriosisnaturally.com and jump on the VIP email list. Remember to keep you number one. The world needs a healthy you.